Hello, dear viewer of Epza'S TV. Welcome to this special program. Today, I'm here at Export Processing Zones Authority, and I will be with the Director of Investment Promotion and Facilitation, Mr. James Maziko, speaking about the contributions of Epza'S in the rise to the rise of business sector in the country. My name is Rajabu Msangi. Welcome, Mr. Maziko.
Thank you very much.
And as I told my viewer that we are speaking about the Epza'S, this Export Processing Zones Authority. Maybe let's start here. What does this authority engage in?
Okay, Epza'S, as you have said, is the Export Processing Zones Authority. It's a government autonomous agent working under the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. And its major statutory responsibilities, according to the legislation which established the authority, is to earmark geographical area within the Tanzanian mainland part and develop infrastructure, which means translate to roads, water system, waste management system, and create what we call an industrial park in order to attract investors to put their investment capital, while their requirement in terms of energy requirements, which is electricity, water system and everything, are all put in place in one geographical area. So that's the main functions of Epza'S.
What are those incentive issues that you offered as Epza'S?
As a government authority, we are dealing with special economic zones, which are specified geographical designated area with preferential treatment. So it translates at the end of the day that whomever comes in or whomever we attract to locate within the area is being incentivized by law. So we have two legislation. We have export processing zone law and we have special economic zone law. They both have different kind of incentives stated by law. For export processing law, investors have got different tax exemptions in terms of tax basis, but we also have incentives which are non-tax. For example, we have special treatment of fast-tracking services, movement of goods coming in, movement of goods going out, and we have what we call a one-stop service center, which accommodates different government officials from different authorities with the aim of facilitating trade and investments under one office. So we have TRA guys, Tanzania Revenue Authority, we have immigration people, we have labor department, and they all provide services together with Epza'S under one roof in order to increase the speed of saving investors. In terms of tax exemptions, for the Epza'S law, we have a corporate tax exemptions for 10 years. Goods of capital nature, there's no import duty, there's no VAT. We have exemptions of VAT on utilities, and so many other incentives as they've stipulated by the law.
You are dealing with these investors and businessmen. So do you think we know there are people who are conducting different activities in the business sector, but they don't know what does this Epza'S. How could you reach them?
Right now, the world is moving towards online, issues.
Yes.
So, what we are doing here is one of the interventions which we are trying to put as a strategy to reach investors. But we also have our own communication strategy and promotion interventions. We always because we are attracting investors from both the domestic market, which are direct investors, domestic direct investors, and foreigners who are foreign direct investors. For the domestic investors, we usually participate in local or national, international investment forums, national trade fair exhibitions. For example, we always participate in Sabasaba, and Sabasaba is now coming up very vibrant. If you could know the scope and country of origin for participants in Sabasaba Trade Fair, it's growing bigger by bigger in terms of numbers and in terms of different countries. So it's one of the platforms which we forge a maximum publicity. But we also participate in any other investment forums as organized on sector basis. For example, the last financial year we participated on the Wood Engineering Product Forum. It was coordinated by the TFS and the Minister of Tourism in Mufindi. We also participated in a tourism exhibition in Iringa. This was just recently last month. And we also, I mean, more and above the national level, we also participated in international forum. For example, last time, wherever the president goes out.
So you're cooperating also with this tourism sector?
Yes, because a special economic zone as a scheme is more than manufacturing. It also includes service industry, which tourism is part of the service industry. And right now, as this sixth regime government, we are aggressively embarking into promoting tourism sector, which, I mean, much as we have done better, but we still think we are operating below the level of capacity we can. So you can see even the president is taking the lead in organizing and promoting tourism sector. So as a government agency, we are also shaking a hand towards his spirit and momentum to make sure that the tourism sector is much more broadly defined and incorporated and branded in the world, in the world eyes.
Currently, the President Samia and her government, under the Ministry of Investment, Industry and Trade, plans fighting to make sure the good environment for investors and the traders. How do these Epza'S cooperate with the ministry to ensure that these plans are well implemented and give out the result?
It's well good to understand for the viewers that if you have a very big political commitment and political willingness to do some reviews in order to create an investment climate which is attractable, then it makes life easier for other stakeholders to follow. And we really appreciate the level of commitment of our president, who is every day, kind of trying to see at this point in time how is the country competitive globally in terms of attracting investments coming in. So we are all evident enough to witness the kind of reviews which are taking places right now. From the review of the Investment Act, we are trying to see if the Investment Act, which was enacted way back 1996, if it is still valid and holding water as we speak now. So there is a lot which is taking place. And also we have done a lot of reforms in terms of, we have a document called the Blueprint, which really goes to address challenges and bottlenecks of different kind of barriers, whether they are non-tariff barriers or tariff barriers. So we are trying to unlock those challenges and open up a way whereby investors can easily do business without any hassles. So the country, as we speak now, there's a lot of things going on. So we, as Epza'S, we also have our own legislation, which at the moment we have just prepared a proposal to do some miscellaneous amendments in order to make sure that the legislation of Epza'S and Special Economic Zone are much more investor friendly, and as well they are aligned with other legislation of the country to minimize divergence and maximize convergence, and also to manage some of the conflicts which, the laws, in actual fact we are doing what we call harmonization.
This also recently the ministry, I remember the Minister of Investment, Dr. Shatu Kijaji, said that the private sector currently is one of the strong, the strong weapons, or we can say the strong engine to build our economy. Do you agree that?
Yes, I agree because all over the world.
Sorry, and if you agree, do Epza'S work with these private sectors?
Actually, most clients, all our clients are coming from the private sector, because all the investment entities, whether it's a company or an individual, they are private sector based. So we are working closely. Basically, I can say our clients, as we speak, they are investors which are coming from private sectors. So how do we work with the private sector? First, we work with investors who, by definition, are private entities. And again, we work with other stakeholders on the private sector closely to make sure that, we have common interest and common understanding. For example, we work very close with TCCIA. We work very close with Tanzania National Private Sector Foundation. So all those are, private association, private-based association, which we work very closely. We also work closely with sector-based association like Tanzania Coffee Board, So all those issues which are based on sectors or otherwise coming from private sector, we have a very close relationship in terms of stakeholder engagement.
November 16 this year, the National Housing Corporation launched their partnership policy. which aim to welcoming these investors. How do you do to this policy to ensure that the investors you will work with them?
That's a very, very good question. It has just come on the right time. The launching of partnership from the National Housing Corporation to attract investors coming in to partner in construction industry is very much, welcomed at this point in time. And as we are speaking, we as EPZA, we can now feel ourselves as also investors because we have assets of land which, we haven't yet established any project in terms of construction. So at the moment, we are having some kind of negotiation or a memorandum of understanding with National Housing Corporation to use some of our assets of land in way of partnership to do some, constructions which can bring back returns to our asset of land. So we, as an authority, at this referring your question, we are also partners with National Housing Corporation, but we also have sold the idea of this kind of partnership as originated from the National Housing Corporation to other investors who at least can forge any kind of publicity, partnership with the National Housing Corporation in terms of investing into the construction industry, which is now coming up very vibrant.
Yes, dear viewers of Epza'S TV, remember that this is the special program and we are speaking about the EPZA contributions to the rise of business sector in the country. And I'm with the Director for Promotions of Investment, Promotions and Facilitation, Mr. James Maziko. EPZA, you are dealing with helping these traders to sell their product outside the country. The statistic, maybe can you tell us the statistic of this year, 2022 or 2021, 2022? How have you helped the traders to sell their product outside?
Actually, your question is a bit tricky because we deal with investors whereby the concept of marketing is part of their own assignment. What we do, we provide enabling environment for investors in order to produce at a very competitive cost so that when they go and sell abroad, they become competitive. And coming to the statistics for the financial year 2021-2022, we have licensed more than 28 different companies. 25% of the companies are foreign direct investment, but the rest are domestic direct investors, which is a very good demonstration of local content. We see that the private sector of Tanzania is now trying to pick up the opportunities as far as the investment climate is concerned. So you can see a bigger chunk of portfolio for the license which we have registered for the last financial year. It's coming up from the private sector of Tanzanian entities, corporated entities, which is good. So the way we support is by giving them the license, which has got some preferential treatment in terms of the incentives we offered. We offer them by law. And so they are capitalizing with this opportunity of incentivization, which is almost a global trend all over the world. Different countries provide different incentives to attract investments. So Tanzania cannot be an exceptional case. So the difference is how quick do you tap this opportunity. But as the numbers says, we are now trying to see a lot of awareness is coming up from Tanzanian private sector to capitalize or to make use of these incentives offered by the government to put their money into manufacturing industry and exports.
The license that you give EPZA, can you elaborate for us? What are the importance of that license?
Yeah, our license are categorized in two phases. We trust that at the moment an application is lodged to us, pretty much the concept or the project is on its infancy. So we first provide what we call EPZ developer license, which we incentivize. We provide incentives for an investor to do development of the project. What kind of development are we talking about? We are talking about construction of a facility which can be used as a production base. So we give you a license which will give you incentives to build and construct maybe a factory, a warehouse, or whichever facility you think is much more appropriate according to the investor. So the moment an investor finishes the facility, then we go and do a site inspection to know its readiness to start production. At this point in time, then we have a graduation from a developer license, which ceased by then, and then we reissue what we call an operator license for him to start operations. And all these licenses have got different packages of incentives, and in itself, we trust that we make our investors more competitive globally because they are being given a relief to minimize their overhead costs.
So there are a lot of opportunity from that license.
Exactly, exactly. From building of a factory up to the operation of the business.
Any procedures that one should follow so as to acquire that license?
Yes, there are eligible checklist requirements for a private company to come and invest into our regime. The first one, the company should be a new company incorporated by our laws. I mean, we don't do what we call a conversion, but you were existing as a business entity, and today you just understand there is Epza'S, so you want to cross and maintain the same business operations. Why do we discourage this? It's because when you were doing your business outside Epza'S, you were a dutiable and payable entity. You were paying taxes to the government. Now you can't just cross immediately coming into a regime which provides tax exemptions. So by this concept or by this logic, we require an investment to be new. You were not existing before as a business entity on that particular project. You have identified a project which you think you can register in Epza'S, so the project should be new and fresh so that you bring in a new capital. And it helps us to measure the KPIs because we have our own policy objectives alongside the key performance indicators. For example, we are looking at the amount or the value of investment capital you are bringing in. And also if you are doing export, we have to understand the projection of your export earnings annually, at least through your business plan. And again, how much creation of employment your project can create to Tanzanian people. So the first criteria is incorporate a company and umbrella so that the company is new and the project is new with a fresh capital. And also you must bring the evidence of land ownership because we must understand where the project is taking place. And if it is taking place into that particular land, what is your right of ownership for that? Do you have a title deed? Do you have a long-term lease to use the land? We do that because we don't want to issue a license and an investor go through production or through construction, and in the mid of production or in the mid of development is caught with a land crisis. So we want a land to be free from any cumbersome from land crisis or land conflict. So land is also critical. And again, because we are dealing with investors who are doing manufacturing, that particular land should be assessed in terms of environmental friendliness. So we need to have environmental impact assessment certification from the National Environment Management Council, NEMC. And then again, just for a due diligence of your whatever financial reputation, we prefer to have any comfort letter from your bank to understand that at least you are a reputable company and there's nothing like making use of the investment window for money laundering or something like that. So those are a few number of documentation. Again, you must come with a business plan. What exactly do you want to do? And within this business plan, we expect to see all our KPIs, the amount of capital, where will you be sourcing your raw materials, how many people are you going to employ, what kind of technology are you bringing in, because we also may have to assess the technology. We wouldn't wish much as we like investments to come in, but we don't want to be a dumping pool for obsolete technology in the country. So we must understand the kind of technology you are bringing in and your potential of export sales. All those issues should be clearly stated within the business plan.
Coming off the Royal Tour Tanzania, we believe that most of the tourists came in Tanzania, and you have said that you are working with these tourists. Do these tourists that have come in Tanzania through the Royal Tour film by President Samia, do you think you have received a lot of investors after this, the Royal Tour?
Yeah, and I would like personally, as a professional, to appreciate the initiative taken by the president to, converting herself into a film actor just for the purpose of branding the tourism sector of the country. And in itself, the value of her seat as a president and the content of the Royal Tour film, if combined together, they've got a tremendous positive impact in promoting awareness globally of what we offer in terms of tourism. So I think she has done her part. Then the rest is the Tanzania Tourist Board and other stakeholders to see now, okay, we've opened up windows, tourists are coming up. What do we offer them? Then there is a maximum, it's a dual function. It's obvious that there is projection or evidence of increased number of tourism because the sector is now, understood globally through the film, which is a live living document.
Yes.
And it's a brand in itself, being done by the president. And in itself, it holds water, it gives weight, it remains with memories all over the world. And so, to answer your question clearly, it's evident enough that the tourism sector have taken some, upper level awareness globally due to the film which our president has been doing as a sterling in that particular film. So what should we do now? It's we stakeholders, Tanzania Tourist Board, Epza'S, TIC, whomever. And the last investment forum, tourism forum we attended in Iringa, clearly stipulated to open up a branding on the southern circuit of the Tanzania, because we are much done in the national, at the national and the international level in the northern part of Tanzania for our tourism. Serengeti is much more known, Mount Kilimanjaro is much more known, but we have a lot of other auspicious and very attractive places on the southern part of Tanzania which have not yet been branded. So it's now high time to unlock the potential of tourism industry or tourism sector on areas which have got a lot of attractiveness, but they have not yet been promoted globally. You see. So to me, it's a very positive impact with time, and if we maintain ourselves, we are going to see tremendous changes on this.
So how do you assure the investors to come to Epza'S to invest in various sectors in Tanzania?
My point of emphasis is there is a lot of sectors which, to us as Epza'S, we have identified them as a priority. And the priority are not from political perspective. They are purely analyzed on the basis of investment analysis. When we say a priority sector, we mean we give you an assurance that once you put your money into this sector, you have an assurance of return to your capital, return to investment. Why? Either because there is stable demand, or there is a relief in terms of cost effectiveness, or there is abundance of raw materials availability so that your supply chain can assure your production throughout a number of years. So what do we identify as priority sectors right now? One is the agro-processing sector. As you know, Tanzania is abandoned by all crops, both cash and food crops. And we still have a good number of companies interested to do agro-processing, value addition on some of the cereal crops. For example, sesame, pulses, soya beans, cashew nuts, all those. This is one of the areas. But another priority sector is the blue economy, fishing and fish processing. It's still very virgin in the country. You can do it in a deep sea through the Indian Ocean with the longest beach, about 1,000 kilometers of beach in Tanzania. Or also you can do in great lakes like Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, Lake Nyasa, you see. So all those are opportunity. But also of recently we are opening up in the wood sector. Last time the Tanzania Forestry Society, TFS, and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism inaugurated a book by the name of wood engineering products, whatever, So there is variety of value-added products from the wood sector, which it's still very virgin. So it's another area for investors to come and put money.
How about these tariff barriers?
Tariff barriers, they are addressed through the blueprint. There is a lot. There is a lot of non-tariff and tariff barriers, you see, because right now at the national level and at the regional level, because through regional integration, we are trying to ease the capacity of countries to trade between themselves. There's no need to have an integration at, let's say, uniting 5, 6, 7, 8 countries, and then in itself you still hold some barriers to trade. And as we speak at regional integration, we are now shifting from the geographical point of view, we are dealing with a bilateral relationship. For example, you can imagine the number of countries which are interested to join EAC, East African Community. Initially, if you can remember by way of history, we started like 3 countries. It was Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. But now Rwanda has just stepped in, Burundi has just stepped in, South Sudan is coming up, DRC Congo is in. Who knows? The next is Zambia, the next can be Malawi. So you can still see the scope of the portfolio of regional integration is becoming big. What does it translate in terms of business? We have to minimize as much as we can tariff and non-tariff barriers. Otherwise, the regional integration cannot make any business
So we
sense.
can conclude that EPZA contribute a lot to the rise of business sector in the country.
Definitely.
So, but behind those success that you have said, do you think there is any challenge that EPZA you are facing?
Challenge, yes. Challenge is part of life. Challenges is all over the world. And EPZA as an authority, as an entity, cannot avoid having challenges. And we have challenges. One, some of the challenges are internal, internally emanating from our own administration or authority as an entity, and some are external. Internally, I mean, we are, right now, where we are sitting here is Benjamin William Mkapa Special Economic Zone. Yes. This was erected as a special economic zone way back 2010, and it is purely 100% public financing. And it was developed as a proof of concept that once we feel that this concept is positive, then we can escalate this into other. But we haven't yet moved into building other Benjamin William Mkapa Special Economic Zone. Pretty much of the areas we are still having is they are earmarked lanes, but they are not developed with full-fledged infrastructure as we speak, as we stand here in Benjamin William Mkapa. So one challenge is the cost of developing this project. I can say we have evidence of underfunding. There is evidence of not having enough financing of infrastructure, because infrastructure development in itself is part of public good, is an expensive project. And having the big country like this with variety of priorities, you know, consistency in allocating funds for infrastructure development in special economic zone is also a challenge in itself. What do? We are trying to unlock these challenges to bring in now private capital to come in and help the burden of the government financially, so that at least the law allows private financing initiative to develop infrastructure in special economic zone, or otherwise doing a partnership level. Very soon we are organizing an investment forum which is going to have a title of enhancing support to develop infrastructure on special economic zone. So we want to shift the burden of development of special economic zone to rely 100% from government subvention. We are trying to look strategically how can we give the government relief from the financial burden for development of special economic zone while we are looking on other economic interventions. We would like to use capital markets, who knows, stock exchanges, you know, and all sort of issues, partnership between government to government, or also other private sectors, which like the one you've, mentioned, public corporate liabilities like national housing corporations. So we are trying to see this now should not only be, we are also trying to promote or to influence or to encourage local government to come up with their own, because the custodian of land is local government. So we are trying to create an awareness in the extent that local government should also develop special economic zone. We have an example of Kigoma. Kigoma Special Economic Zone is being developed by the Kigoma Regional Secretariat or Kigoma Regional Government. We have a case of Nyanshimbi in Kahama, yes, being developed by Kahama Municipal. And of recently, the Buzwagi mining is being closed, and through the closure plan, they want to do a conversion of the facility from being a mining facility to become a special economic zone. And actually, as we speak, they've already lodged an application to gazette that particular facility as a special economic zone. So you can see, we are trying to see, those are the challenges is financing.
Dear viewer of Epza'S TV, we mark end to this interview with Mr. James Maziku, the Director of Investment Promotions and Facilitation from Export Processing Zones Authority, Dar es Salaam. My name is Rajabu Msangi. Welcome again. See you next time.